Hi everybody, hope everybody's doing well. Today we're going to be looking at standard form versus scientific notation. Okay, so if I write the number 37,400, this is what we call standard form. This is how we write our numbers normally, right? But we want to convert this from standard form into what we call scientific notation. Okay, so we need to first talk about what is scientific notation. Scientific notation is where we can take any number like this, 37,400, and we can write it in the form of, here's a definition for you, write it in the form of 1 through 10, the number will fit between 1 and 10, times by 10 raised the some power. Okay, and this will make more sense to you as we get going through it. But we can take any number and write it in this form, the form of 1 through 10 times by 10 to some power. So if we go back to our first example, 37,400, that number is clearly way too big, right? It's bigger than 1 through 10. So we need to make this number smaller to get it between 1 and 10. Okay? So where is our decimal located on a whole number? Do not think it's where the comma is. That's not the decimal spot. On any whole number, the decimal is always at the end. Okay? And if we want to make this number smaller, we need to move this decimal either to the right or move this decimal to the left. So which way is going to help us make this smaller? Going to the right or going to the left? Hopefully you said the left. Okay? If we move it to the right, we're going to get bigger. So we want to move this decimal to the left. So if I take this decimal and I move him over one time, we now have 3740 decimal. So now we have 3,740. So we did get smaller, but we're still not between 1 and 10. So we're going to move this decimal another time. So we move over one more time. And now we have 374. We're getting smaller again, but we're still too big. We're still above 1 through 10. So our decimal is still at the end, and we're just going to move it again. So we move it over one more time, and now we have 37.4. We do need the 4. Make sure you keep the 4 in there. I didn't write the zeros, right? Because I don't need those at the end, but I do need to have that 4. So don't lose the 4. So 37.4, we are getting closer. We're not through 1 through 10 yet, but we're getting a lot smaller. So what happens if I try moving one more time? And then I get 3.74. 3.74 is between 1 and 10. Okay, so that's the first half. But then we said it's times by 10 raised to some power. So times 10 raised to a power. Well, what power do you think we're going to put there? Well, let's see. We move the decimal 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So therefore it's the power of 4. So my answer is 3.74 times 10 raised to the 4th power. That number is now between 1 through 10 times 10 raised to a power. That is the same thing as saying 37,400 in standard form. Okay, so this is how we say it in standard form. This is how we say it in scientific notation. Standard form is, like I said, what we normally do, right? That's what you say, 37,400. But 3.74 times 10 to the 4th is scientific notation. Okay, let's look at some more examples. If I have 590, that's in standard form, right? We want to write the scientific notation. So scientific notation says it's going to be fit between 1 and 10. Well, he's too big right now, so we need to move him. So where's the decimal located again? At the end. And do we really need to start going 1 and then do what we did before? We can start seeing it. If I move him one time here, we have 59, right? 59.0. Well, that's still too big. So if we move him again, then we have 5.9. And notice I lost a 0. I don't need it. If you put it, it's okay, but you don't need it. 5.9 is between 1 and 10. Times by 10 to some power. Well, how far do we move it? 1, 2 times. So the power of 2. There's my answer. Okay? I want you guys to try one real quick. $3,520. Hopefully you have paper and pencil out and try that. Turn that number into scientific notation. Okay, decimals should start at the end, right? We need to make this number smaller, it's too big. So if we move him over 1, 2, 3 times, we end up with 3.52, and I don't need that 0, but if you put it, it's okay, times 10 to how many times do we move the decimal. Not how many times behind her, it's not to the power of 2, that wasn't a power of 1. Count how many times you moved the decimal. 1, 2, 3 times. So 3.52 times 10 to the third. Okay, let's try one more. $899. Write that into scientific notation. Okay, so the decimal's at the end. And we need to make it between 1 and 10. So if I move him over once, twice, we end up with 8.99. Make sure that number is between 1 and 10, correct? Times 10, and how far are we moving? 1 and 2 times. Notice I kept both 9s. I need those. Don't lose those. Okay, keep them in there. Do a giant one. Let's go 2, 3, comma, 4, 0, 0, comma, 5, 0, 0. 23,400,500. Let's write that number into scientific notation. So the decimal is clear at the end. And we need to move that number decimal clear over to get this number smaller than 10, right? So if we go 1 time, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. We end up with 2.34005, then times 10 to something, right? But I want to stop for a second. So I lost the 2 zeros at the end, right? Because I don't need those. But I kept the 2 zeros in the middle because they're placeholders. So I need those zeros in there. Okay, so see the difference. Why do we lose the 0 at the end? We don't need it. Okay, but we need the zeros in the middle. All right. Okay, but let's see how many times we moved it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So 7 times. And notice I need all those numbers behind the decimal because there's a 5 clear at the end. 2.34005 times 10 to the 7th. Okay, so that's looking at one side of things. Well, what happens if we have something like this? And I give you the number 0.0078. And I want to write this number into scientific notation. Or is it already? Hopefully you said no. Because what's wrong with this? Why is this not in scientific notation? It's too small, right? We said the number had to sit between 1 and 10. Well, I don't even have a whole number out here. It's smaller than 1, right? So we got to make this number bigger. So my decimal is not at the end. The decimal is actually this time out here in the front. So if we do like we did before, and we move this decimal to the left this way, is that going to help me? Is that going to make this number fit between 1 and 10? No, this time I got to move the decimal to the right. So if I move him over here, I get now 0.078. Well, that's still too small. So if I move him another time, then I have 0.78. Well, we're still not between 1 and 10. We're not even to 1 yet. We don't have a whole number here yet. So if we move him again, now we're at 7.8. Okay? So he's got to go from there clear over to here. So then we get 7.8, which is between 1 and 10, right? Times 10 to what power, though? How many times do we move it? 1, 2, 3. So the power of 3? Nope. This is where the catch is today. If it's smaller than 1 right here, he's actually to a -3. So if the number up here in standard form is bigger than 10, and we got to make him smaller, it's going to be a positive exponent. Because he's big. He's big. He's positive. So if it's a big number, positive exponent. Okay? But if the number is small, smaller than 1, then we want to make him negative. So if we had 0.056, and we want to write this back in the scientific notation, well, same thing. He's too small. Decimal's clear over here. I don't have a whole number. So we got to move the decimal this way to make it between 1 and 10. So I got to move the decimal from here clear to there. So then we end up with 5.6 times 10 to some power. And notice I don't put the zeros in the front. I don't need those either. Okay. So how far did I move him? Well, 1, 2. What is it going to be, a positive 2 or a -2? Okay, so that's a big catch. You got to see the difference. One's a positive, one's a negative. Okay, I want you guys to try one. 0.0025. Write that into scientific notation. Okay, decimals in the front. Move him over once, twice, 3 times. So we should end up with 2.5 times 10. And he's small, so we want to make this a negative exponent. So 2.5 times 10 to the -3rd. Okay? Alright, after this video is over, I'm going to have you're going to log in, there's going to be a Nearpod assignment that you're going to need to complete on turning numbers from standard form to scientific notation. And they're going to be mixed, be careful. Some are going to be big, so some are going to be positive exponents. Some are going to be small, where they got to be negative exponents. Okay? So I want you to practice going through these in the Nearpod assignment. Make sure you complete the assignment. Okay, get it done. When you're done with that, there's going to be another little video that I'm going to talk about, and then we'll go from there. Okay? Alright, so I'll see you back on the second video shortly.